Good afternoon, everybody. Could I remind those councillors to put their microphones on mute, please, if not speaking. And I'd like to welcome everybody to Alpine Shire's special council meeting on the 25th of August 2020. This is our first attempt at doing a live meeting, so please be a little bit patient. We've had a little bit of practice and we think we have the ability to do this efficiently. I will hand over to the CEO, Mr. Charlie Bird.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded, as we are at the moment. The video is focused on your particular space where you're being videoed from. The reason behind, of course, recording council meetings is to hold us more accountable and improve transparency of council decision making to our community. The full meeting is being streamed live on council's YouTube channel, which is Alpine Shire Council, and will also be available on the YouTube channel shortly after this meeting.
Acknowledgement of traditional custodians and recognition of all people.
The Alpine Shire Council acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we are all on. We also acknowledge those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community and strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all.
Apologies, which we have none. Declarations by councillors of conflict of interest. Does anyone have a conflict of interest? No. Presentation of reports by officers. 5.1, Director Corporate, Natalie Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report relates to the governance rules for council. Council is required to develop governance rules before the 1st of September 2020 in accordance with the requirements of Section 60 of the Local Government Act 2020. Governance rules must be made in respect to the conduct of council meetings, the election of the mayor and the deputy mayor, the appointment of an acting mayor, the procedures for disclosure of conflicts of interest, and must include an election period policy in accordance with Section 69 of the Local Government Act.
So
Councillor Forsyth, can I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Councillor Janus. Councillor Forsyth.
No, as read.
Councillor Janus.
No, as read. It's important under the new Local Government Act 2020 that we have these policies in place. I think we'll probably find that the rest of the meeting is on the same vein. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Can I just ask Director Cook to read through the recommendations and we'll go to the vote.
So the recommendation is that 1, council note that 1 internal submission was received regarding the draft governance rules. No external submissions were received. 2, improvements proposed by the internal submission to enhance harmonisation between neighbouring councils be incorporated into the governance rules. 3, that the governance rules be adopted. 4, that the governance rules will come into force on the 1st of September 2020. And 5, the governance rules will be signed and sealed at the appropriate stage of the meeting.
Thank you, Director Cook. Can all those in favour please raise their hand? Against? Carried. I'll get there. 5.1.2, Ms. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council has developed and adopted governance rules now regarding the conduct of council meetings, council's existing local law number 1, being council administration, which was written in 2016, must now be revoked, and a replacement governance local law 2020 must be endorsed to govern the use of council's common seal and offences related to council meetings.
So moved.
Councillor Nicholas, any seconder, please? Councillor Forsyth, Councillor Nicholas.
Similar to the last one, we're reviewing and aligning with to align with the new 2020 Local Government Act.
Councillor Forsyth.
Nothing to add to that.
Do we need to read the full recommendation? No.
I'm in your hands, Councillor Roper.
What's that?
It's up to you,
Does anyone else have any further comments on this item? Well, let's go to the vote then. All those in favour? All those against? No one. Carried. Item 5.1.3.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Public transparency policy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council is also required to develop a public transparency policy in accordance with the requirements of Section 57 of the Local Government Act. Council resolved to release a draft policy for public submissions at the ordinary council meeting held in July, with submissions due by the 14th of August. No external submissions were received on the draft policy that was put out for public exhibition. The policy recognises council's commitment to sound democratic governance and recognises the importance of providing transparency as a foundation for community confidence, community engagement and accountability. The policy clarifies what information at a minimum will be published and what information will be made available to the public upon request, and outlines the mechanism for making a request. It also stipulates what's classed as confidential under relevant legislation.
Councillor Janice Nicholas. Councillor Janice.
Yes. Thank you, Mr Mayor. This, once again, a very important document with public transparency under the new Local Government Act. All councillors have got a copy of their of this meeting procedure in front of them anyway. But this is a very important one, and there'll be some new steps now with new councils coming forward. And some council transparency in relation to documents. So it just makes it a little bit more open to public. Thank you.
Councillor Nicholas.
Here to Councillor Janice, but also the policy is very good at defining what information will go to the public immediately and what we need to keep as a confidential item and how access is obtained to information. So it's really clear, and I think that's great.
Any further comment? Councillor Keeble.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I would say that this policy, it's a statewide policy in regards to the new LGA 2020 legislation. And I would think in the 12 years I've been on council that I think our council has been pretty good at transparency and providing information to the residents when required. So it's not just for people that are listening out there, this policy is not as a result because of anything that our shire, I don't think, has done anything where they haven't been transparent. It's to make sure that all shires in the whole state are transparent, and it's just putting that in paper, in writing.
Councillor Forsyth.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on what Councillor Nicholas was saying, and that is that even though it doesn't state it in the issues part of our agenda here, it is very important to note that there are specific documents that are categorised which are not available to the public. So I just don't want the public to feel that they have access to absolutely everything and anything.
Any further? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 5.1.4. Councillor expenses policy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council is required to develop an expenses policy for the reimbursement of out-of-pocket expenses for councillors and members of delegated committees before the 1st of September, in accordance with Section 41 of the Local Government Act. Council has developed a council expenses policy to satisfy these requirements, and it's largely based on the existing councillor reimbursement of expenses policy. Reimbursements must be provided where expenses are bona fide, have reasonably been incurred in the performance of the relevant role, and are reasonably necessary in the performance of that role. In addition, resources and facilities must be made available to the Mayor and councillors that are reasonably necessary for them to be effective and perform well in their roles.
I'll move that, Mr Mayor, with an amendment, if I could.
I second.
Councillor Janice and Councillor Keeble. Councillor Janice, your amendment, please.
In number, sorry, I think it's number 2. As previously distributed, Council will replace all lost or stolen devices only once during a council term, and after the second loss of a device, a replacement will be provided, but Council will deduct the purchase price of a new device from the councillor's stipend at the next due payment. That's my amended version, and the rest is as presented, Mr. Mayor.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Keeble?
Happy for us to vote on that. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay. Would you like to talk further, Councillor Janice?
Yes, thank you. It is very important that councillors have communication devices available to them to talk not only to other councillors but to the constituents, particularly in this day and age of mobile phones, etc. But on the other hand, these devices are expensive, and ratepayers shouldn't necessarily cover the burden of unnecessary cost in replacement of some of these items. Staff do get these devices as well, and there are certain conditions around those. So I think it's due diligence that we be more responsible in handling the equipment that we've been issued with over the time. There will be times where something might break and we'll have to replace a screen or whatever, but if it's something that's been lost on more than or stolen on more than one occasion, then we have to be quite cognizant of the fact that it is a cost thing and we should be careful with what we're issued with. Thank you.
Councillor Keeble?
Thanks. I agree there with Councillor Ronis. Also, in regards to the proposed councillor expense policies, it's really about making sure that we've got the new council election coming up, that our residents in the Alpine Shire can feel that they can be on council without any financial disadvantage to themselves, because not everyone that wants to go for council may not have the financial means. So we need to make sure it's a policy that that anyone can apply for council and not feel like they'll be financially disadvantaged. So that's where the policy sits at the moment. Thanks.
Any further?
Yes, I'd just
Councillor
like to.
Forsyth?
Sorry.
Forsyth, then Councillor Nicholas.
Thank you, Councillor Roper. Just following up on Councillor Keeble, those resource and financial implications, it should be noted for anybody who is contemplating going on council that there are definite provisions now for childcare and or carer arrangements as well. So if that's ever been a stumbling block in the past, it's been removed.
Councillor Nicholas?
Councillor Forsyth took my thunder. Nothing to add.
Any further?
I'd also like to assure people that there's a good IT department that will teach you how to use those devices and help you to sustain them and keep them functioning and amenable to you. Thank you.
Councillor Pearce, you're the only person who hasn't said anything. Would you like to say something? I take that as a no. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Item 5.1.5, Establishment and Charter, Audit and Risk Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to consider the establishment of an Audit and Risk Committee and the adoption of a charter for that committee in accordance with the new requirements, being sections 53 and 54 of the Local Government Act 2020. Council's existing audit committee was established under the previous section of the Act, being the 1989 Act. And while that section of the Act has been repealed, our Audit Committee continues in operation until such time as we establish a new Audit Committee under Section 53(1) of the 2020 Act. In the interest of continuity and stability, it's proposed the Council establish the new committee by reappointing existing independent members for terms based on the remaining balance of their current 3-year term. This approach has been endorsed by the existing Audit Committee at its July 2020 meeting, and the independent members have indicated their agreement to be appointed to the new committee. It is also proposed that councillor members remain as presently appointed until the end of the current councillor term in October 2020. New appointments to the committee will be made following the beginning of the new councillor's term in November 2020. The recommendation includes the establishment of the committee and the adoption of the charter for that committee. The proposed Audit and Risk Committee charter is similar in structure to the existing charter, with a minor reorganisation of some sections, a more detailed functions and responsibilities section, and the inclusion of 3 new additional sections, being values. The committee will conduct itself in accordance with our Council's Alpine values. Misuse of position. The committee and its members must not intentionally misuse their position in accordance with the provision of Section 123 of the LGA 2020, and communication. Communication between Council, Committee and any other party will at all times be open, transparent, direct and factual, recognising the need to comply with relevant privacy and confidentiality agreements. The existing committee.
Councillor Forsyth, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Napster.
Yep.
Councillor Forsyth.
Look, yes. Just can I ask a simple question of Ms Cook, please? We've got 10 recommendations here, and it will take half an hour to read them all out. Are these printed anywhere that the general public could actually view them? Are they available?
All of our council agendas and papers are on our website for every meeting.
Thank you. So we do not have to read through them all. That's good. And I'd just like to point out that having sat on this committee as a councillor for some time, I'd just like to commend the independent members of this committee as being a good cross-section and a highly competent committee. And I also like to see now that under it's called an audit committee, it is also at audit and risk, which is evident of some of the things that the audit and risk committee are now looking at.
Councillor Napstein.
I'll endorse what Councillor Forsyth has just said, and I think it just further fortifies those principles of transparency and accountability. So thank you.
Any further? All those, let's off to the vote now. All those in favour? Carried. Item 5.1.6, Community Asset Committees.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The commencement of the Local Government Act 2020 means that the committees of council previously used to manage some of our facilities now need to be reviewed to ensure they're being managed in accordance with the new requirements. This recommendation relates to 2 current delegated committees of council, being the Bright Senior Citizens Centre Committee of Management and the Mount Beauty Recreation Centre Committee of Management. The proposal is for those committees who were formed under Section 86 as special committees under the previous Local Government Act, that these committees will be established now as community asset committees under the new Local Government Act 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Keeble, the second. Councillor Nicholas.
Quite a lot of detail in the recommendation. I'd like to add that there's been significant community discussion with the committees, I understand, so they can move forward into the new structure. I think that's great.
Councillor Keeble.
No, nothing for me, nothing further, Dad.
Any further comment? To the vote, all those in favour? Carried. Item 5.1.7, Mount Buffalo Reactivation Planning Scheme Amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this item is to recommend that Council seek the Minister for Planning's intervention and assistance to prepare and approve a planning scheme amendment to enable the reactivation of the Mount Buffalo Chalet complex. The planning controls that currently apply to the Mount Buffalo Chalet complex do not allow for the future use of the chalet legislated lease area in the event that leases are granted. This anomaly is due to a lapsing of existing use rights established over many decades that allowed the uses to continue operating even though the planning controls did not allow for such uses. The Mount Buffalo Chalet is a national, state and regional local communities.
I'll move that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Janus, can I have a seconder, please?
Yep, I'll second that.
Councillor
Yeah,
Nicholas.
Nicholas.
Councillor Janus.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. This is an important step forward for the chalet. It's been a long saga to get where we are, but the positive point is we are at a good point in time now with that, and we have to have this document in place so that we can move forward to the next steps, to have that fine building utilised in a better fashion than it is now, and we're hoping that the minister will work with us, and I'm sure they will, to get this piece of planning up and going for us. Thank you.
Nicholas.
Concur with Councillor Janus and add that I was talking with someone today who can recall camping at Lake Kitani and walking around to the chalet to go dancing, and I don't think we're going to quite get there with this planning change, but opening the chalet at least as a cafe will be a fabulous thing to bring it back to life.
Any further? Councillor Pearce in the sorting shed. You'll have to turn your microphone on, Councillor Pearce.
My apologies. I'd like to concur with my dear colleagues on the matter, and it's been a long 13 odd years since the Shire shut down, and it's been a long road, and there's been promises and there's been hints that things were going to happen up there, and just when it's about to happen, unfortunately it falls over. So it's really good to get 1 foot in the door here, but I hope that this is just the 1 foot and to open the doors, and not only have a canteen, but down the track start reviving the chalet, hopefully partially as it once was, and so this is a good decision and a good time. Thank you.
Any further? I think we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. The next item on the agenda is documents for sealing. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the documents that need to be sealed? Councillor Napstone? And
I'll second.
Councillor Napstone, Councillor Pearce. Can I have, so you're available tomorrow to go to the office and sign those, Kitty and Daryl?
I'm in the office.
Yep, righto. Okay, so straight to the vote with that. All those in favour? Carried. There being no further business, I now declare the special meeting SPM 9, 25th of August 2020 closed at 4:29 p.m. Is that correct?
Thank you, Councillor Roper.
Thank you very much.